So welcome to James TV. Welcome to my biology class. So in today, we are going to talk about the cell, the structure of the cell, and also the function of the cell. So make sure you like it, then you subscribe as well. All right, now let's go to our main topic for today. We are going to talk about the cell, then the structure and the function of each component or the structure of it. All right, so when we talk of the cell, we say that a cell is the building block of life, meaning that without the cell, living organisms cannot survive. Or in an advanced manner, we can say that a cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Please, this must be noted. When you talk of the cell, you see, when you take the living organism, for instance, without the cell, the living organism cannot survive. So we see that the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life So without this cell, living organism cannot survive. So living organisms depend on this cell. All right, so when we take the cell, we have three main parts of the cell. I'm not saying that we have three parts of the cell, but we have three main parts of the cell, in which the other part falls within these three main parts that I'm going to mention. Now, the first part is the cell membrane. The cell membrane. And the next part is the nucleus. One, cell membrane, we have the nucleus. All right, and the last part is the cytoplasm. All right, so we are going to dive into it and see what it entails. Now, let's take the cell membrane. You see, when you take the cell, the outer boundary of the cell, this one, is a cell membrane. Now, what does it do? The cell membrane serves as a gate. The function of the cell membrane is that it serves as a gate in which substances get into the cell and also substances get out from the cell. So when you look at the cell membrane, this is the cell membrane. You see, this is the cell membrane. So it serves as a channel or gate in which substances get into the cell and also substances get out from the cell through this channel. All right, and we have the nucleus. We see that the nucleus is the control center of the cell. It means that when the nucleus of a cell damages, it means that the whole cell is going to damage. And also, the nucleus carries genetic materials, for example, the DNA and then the RNA as well. And then we have the cytoplasm. Now, the cytoplasm contains the organelles, right? When we talk of organelles, you see, they are the small organs in the cell. So when you take the human body, for instance, we have the kidney, the small intestines. These forms the small organs in the human body. So when you come to the cell and you think something like the ribosome, the perisome, the lysosome, these are the small organelles that we found in the cell. And we also have, that's the function of the cytoplasm. All right, so we are going to look at each of the organelles and their functions. So we will take them one after the other. So first of all, we are going to look at the function of the nucleus. So we are going to zoom into the nucleus. I'm going to draw it out here so for you to see what the nucleus entails. What's in there? This is the nucleus. You see, the nucleus is here. This is the one. So I have zoomed it out here for you to see what is inside the nucleus. So we are going to talk about the nucleus. Now, when you look at the nucleus, we have the outer layer. This one, this is the outer layer. And we also have the inner layer. Inside here is the inner layer. So we have the outer layer. And we also have the inner layer. All right. So when you take the outer layer plus the inner layer, we call it the nuclear envelope. Is that clear? The outer layer plus the inner layer will give you what we call the nuclear envelope. Yes. the nuclear envelope. All right. And if you look at it, we have some holes here. You see, we have some holes here. These holes, we call it the nuclear pores. The nuclear pores. These holes, call it the nuclear pores. All right. So this is the nuclear pores. And what is the function of this nuclear pores? You see, it serves as a channel in which substances get into the nucleus and also substances moves out from the nucleus. Is that clear? So the nuclear pores, the function of the nuclear pores is that it serves as a gate in which substances comes into the nucleus and the same channel substances moves out from the nucleus. Is that clear? And the nucleus also have something we call the dense structure. This is the dense structure here. This one. Now, what is the function of this dense structure? Now, the name of this dense structure is called the nucleus. The nucleus. Is that clear? We call it the nucleus. Now, what is the function of this nucleus? The function of this nucleus is that it produces what we call the ribosome. Is that clear? It produces another organelle. That is the ribosome. The ribosome is here. So I will talk about it later. We call it the nucleus. Now, when the nucleus produces what we call the ribosome also produces what we call the synthesis protein. So the nucleus produces what we call the ribosome, right? And the ribosome also produces a protein called the synthesis protein. Call it a synthesis protein. All right. Then you see the structure of this one. These organelles, it seems they are the same. We call them chromatin. This is chromatin. Now, what is the function of chromatin? Now, the chromatin is in two parts. One, it produces what we call DNA and also produces another protein, and that protein is called histone. Chromatin produces what we call DNA and a protein called the histone. Now, in the beginning, I told you that the nucleus the nucleus runs genetic materials. So the chromatin produces what we call the DNA. And a DNA also produces another cell. And when a DNA produces another DNA or another cell, we call it replication. When a DNA produces another DNA or a cell, we call it replication because it replicates itself. We call it replication. Now, and a DNA too can produce what we call RNA, that is a ribonucleic acid. And when a DNA produces what we call the RNA, we call it transcription. Is that clear? It's not difficult, okay? When a DNA produces what we call the RNA, we call it transcription. Transcription. Right. So the deoxyribonucleic acids, that is DNA, can produce another DNA. And the process of it producing another DNA or another cell, we call it replication because it replicates itself. Right. And when a DNA produces what we call the RNA, we call it transcription. Is that clear? All right. So we are going to talk about the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum. So I will zoom it out here for you to see the endoplasmic reticulum. So this is the endoplasmic reticulum. Now, what is the function of the endoplasmic reticulum? Now, we have two parts of the endoplasmic reticulum. We have the rough endoplasmic reticulum and then the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This is the endoplasmic reticulum. You see, it's closer to the nucleus. Then I've zoomed it out. I told you that you are going to dive into each of the organelles and see what it entails. So, You have the rough endoplasmic reticulum and then the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. I told you that the nucleus produces what we call the ribosome. And then the ribosome also produces a protein called the synthesis protein. Also, when the synthesis protein is produced, it moves out from the nucleus, then it's attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. So when it attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, we say that that endoplasmic reticulum is rough endoplasmic reticulum. Is that clear? Rough endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum. So we write only rough, and then we have smooth. Okay, that's smooth.